So today we'll discuss trying out this new gimbal, but still trying to learn it. Today we'll discuss silent treatment. So silent treatment is known as ignoring someone, stonewalling, just really going silent after a conflict, not really resolving issues, problems, certain things that kind of linger on in a relationship or even in families or in friendships, not the jobs, at your workplace. Because people like to, some people like to have conflict. They like to argue, and they like to do things that are in a way of being rude and just really saying vulgar words. But the most effective way to actually punish someone is silent treatment. It's like not saying nothing at all. 'Cause like in solitary confinement, when they put people in there, we assume that we take them away from the population and that they will be better off. But putting them in that room is like, in a way, torture. You're not doing nothing to them, you're not hurting them, but you're taking them away from everything, like from all sound. So pretty much their thoughts are gonna be the only thing that will keep them company, to the point of where is it so quiet, there's no sounds, nobody's there, it's padded. So when you experience conflict in relationships, in marriages, even in friendships, and just all like different types of relationships, if somebody uses silent treatment on you, then it's gonna torture you in a way. At first, you're just gonna wonder, like, okay, this person thinks I'm like, almost feels like you're nothing. Like, and it starts to hurt you because they'll ignore you, with the stonewalling, and before you know it, you'll start to feel, you'll start to get angry, and you start to experience other emotions, and then you're saying like I'm always there for that person, and now they act like that I don't even matter. And then it gets worse. Like now we're starting to get upset, because then we wonder, like after all these things that we've done, then we start to play it in our mind of like this person doesn't want to talk to us, and there's like no healthy communication, and there's no way of resolving the conflict, the recurring conflict, because sometimes it's like the same thing that keeps getting us into conflict, the same type of arguments. And then before you know it, you start to not want to do anything, because you start to get down, like maybe not depression, but it starts to affect the way you feel about yourself. Because when somebody's doing silent treatment on you, it's kind of like an assault, like the best, weapon against someone trying to make a point that you said something that upset them, and they want to prove a point to punish you. And that's when things get a little bit more complicated with silent treatment, because if somebody's insecure, or they lack confidence, or their self-esteem is low, then that starts to really hurt them, because it's possible that that person that is getting the silent treatment values that other person so much, respects them so much, and cares about them so much, and then all of a sudden they don't matter anymore, or just for that moment, until you know that. Because sometimes the silent treatment's used, and then all of a sudden the cycle is this a cycle? It's eventually they'll break their silence and then they'll talk to you again, but then you don't resolve what causes the silent treatment, or you don't even resolve like the silent treatment itself, that it keeps being used, and then you just have to talk about it. Really, I feel like it's a really big problem in relationships. Like, people know that silent treatment. When they start ignoring someone, what if your friend ignores you or your coworker? Then what do you like? How do you feel? Like, at first you're going to get angry, of course, and as time goes on, then you're going to start to wonder, man, I don't deserve this. I deserve something better. And then as time goes on, then of course you're going to care about the person, value them, and respect them. And then that's when it gets worse, because then you just start shifting into these different emotions. And then before you know it, you just start to get like, you just start laying in bed and you don't want to do nothing. And then your energy level's down, your mood. And is this like really, all these things, like all these emotions start playing out. And then you start to miss that person, or you feel like that you'll never talk to them again. So those are the things that can happen. But the thing is that if there's silent treatment and you're strong and you have a lot of confidence and your self-esteem is high, then you're going to understand that the person is choosing to use silent treatment as a way to hurt you or to prove a point, and that you're going to be okay with it. You're going to say eventually they're going to get out of that phase, because they do value you and they do respect you, and that they do care. And eventually you're gonna find a moment where they will make contact with you again. I think the hard part with silent treatment is if somebody gets so mad with you, so angry, and they just want to cut you off. Like, where they're just done with you and you have this falling out. That's the hard point. The hard part. Point. That's the hard part. Because with in those situations, then you really don't know. Because if they're just totally ignoring you and then they're cutting you off, like where you don't even know that if you ever even talk to them again, then that becomes a big challenge. But you don't want to be like overly desperate by contacting them over and over again, to where you feel like that you need them so much that there's like that you can't function without them. And when you can't function without them, then it makes it much more harder. And that's why it's important to gain confidence and to really have high self-esteem, but not to the point where you become arrogant, or that you start to attach like all your value to other people, but also value to your own personal value, like your self-value and your self-confidence and your self-esteem. Because these are things that you have to consider. Is like, why is silent treatment so effective in making me say angry, sad, upset? Like, why is it so useful? Is this because it's not that we want attention? Is this that we enjoy certain people? Like, some people are extremely important in our lives. So say if our dad or our mom ignores us, then that could really hurt us. Say if as a kid we do something wrong and then our parents don't know how to really communicate with us, so then what they do is that they ignore us. They can ignore us, and then they continue to ignore us, and then they don't talk to us, and then it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem because then, as a kid, we want the attention. We want to make our parents proud of us, and we want to do all these things that show that, that if you have like siblings, that we want to be that favorite one. We want to be doing a good job. So when they're ignoring us because we did something wrong or we said something to them, then we don't resolve that conflict. Then we suffer. They could walk by us and not say nothing. And that's the problem in relationships, because you see these dating coaches, they try to help you to get the guy or the girl. And then what happens after that? You get them, right? You get their attention. Maybe you want to get them to love you. But what happens when you have like all these things, these negative traits that you carry with you forward from past relationships? What happens when you start to do silent treatment? Or what if you had silent treatment done to you and then you do it to others? Or what if silent treatment was done to you and then you recycle it and do it to others? And even worse, what if you never learned to how to deal with it, the silent treatment? Like, what if somebody does it to you and then you think maybe, okay, since it's done to me, I'm like, you suffer through it. And then maybe you think that's the most useful, say, like a form of punishment that you could do on somebody else. Then that becomes a problem, because you never talk things out. And healthy communication is the way to go. It always is. And it takes one person to acknowledge that, to say, they come into our life and they say, you know what? I don't like that you do that. I don't like that you use silent treatment, because you know what? It's not healthy. And that we need to talk these things out. And that we have to do things, like we have to resolve this conflict. So if we don't resolve this conflict, then we're going to get in these cycles, and we're not going to really enjoy this relationship, whether it's friendship, romantic relationship, or whatever it may be. We're not going to enjoy it as much if we keep getting to these cycles where we have conflict and all we do is ignore each other. That's not the way to go. And I would never want to use silent treatment on anyone. And that's why when you do it, then you kind of dissolve relationships, because eventually that one person realizes that you've done this, you've used silent treatment all these years, and they just realize how hurtful that type of punishment was. That oh, this is what we always do. This is how we treat each other. And then somebody points that out and says, you know what? That's like not the way to treat to treat each other. It's not healthy. And you just never resolve the challenges that you have because you use the silent treatment as a way to like torture each other. And as people get older, they may not stop doing it. They may continue to do that to their significant other, because nobody calls them out. Like, you have to call people out on that stuff, because if you don't like it, you have to let them know. Otherwise, you don't fix things. You have to be honest. You have to be open about sharing that. You have to be confident when you say it. Don't be uncomfortable. Don't be like, like I'm all nervous and stuff, and I don't know how they're gonna receive that if I tell them that I don't like their silent treatment. Like, you just do it. Like, tell them I don't like it. I don't like when you go silent and you ignore me after something goes wrong. I can see a few days, but not like a few weeks, 3 weeks, as time goes on, because some people don't deal with that. They call it childish. Some people won't even deal with it for like an hour or a day. And the longer you go, the more you destroy these relationships. And I think that, sometimes it's important. I found a baseball. Baseball. This would have mattered when I was a kid, because we'd always, when we hit baseballs out of the park and stuff, when you hit the home runs, then you run out of baseballs because you don't have a replacement. So you have to go get that other ball. So it's always good to have multiple baseballs. Off topic. So silent treatment is, I say it's effective when we want to make a point to someone, when we want to tell them that what they said or what they did was wrong, and I'm going to let you know that I'm not accepting what you said, and you were wrong, and you can say sorry all you want, and I'm just going to ignore you for now until I'm ready to talk to you, until I get it out of my system. And that's just not the way to go. I mean, when you have a conflict, you have a fight, it's good to maybe step back for a little bit. If you want to say something, kind of like count to 10 or something. Say, should I say this? Should I say these things? Should I say, something that I know that's going to get them upset? Because sometimes we may explode. We may say things that we don't mean. Sometimes we say the truth, and the truth hurts. And it's the way that we deliver the truth. Instead of like asking questions, we just go all out like an all out assault like on the person, because we just explode, because we just get tired sometimes. We keep hearing the same, problems and excuses and different things. Like there's so many things that we just start to get problem overload, and we just can't, sometimes we just can't stay silent, and that's why we may say things, and then the person may not be able to deal with what you said, and then pretty much they just ignore you. And some people have done it, like silent treatment. I had since I drive Uber, I had a rider once that said he's done it for 3.5 years to his mom, so they're not even like talking anymore. And I was like, you're okay with that? And he said, what, she taught me that. So it's a form of passive aggressive, and sometimes people make comments towards you, but they don't say directly to you. They make comments, they're referring to you, right? So silent treatment is like a form of passive aggressive behavior, because you're not really being direct with that person. You're either being silent, or you're making comments that are indirect. So when the writer was telling me that he hadn't talked to his mom in 3.5 years, and I said, you're okay with that? And he said, why not? Like, meaning that this is how we do it. My mom taught me. She's the best teacher. So what he's saying is that, and I said, so when are you going to talk again? He said, maybe when we're going to our graves. So essentially he's okay with it. He could go the rest of his life and not talk to his mom, and that's not okay. That's not okay to ignore family members. I mean, your mom, come on, like your mom, the one that carried you in her stomach for 9 months, and that took care of you and changed your diapers and fed you and was always there for you, and then you're gonna ignore her over some things that maybe some negative traits that maybe she never resolved. Like, it's always good, like somebody has to like break the silence. I mean, we can't go overboard by continuing to contact that person over and over and over again, but eventually somebody needs to break it. Somebody has to show effort and really show that, hey, I know what's going on, and I apologize, and I can't rewind time to fix the things I said or what I was thinking at that time, but you know what? Like, I value you, I respect you, and I care for you. And I said these things, and maybe if there's truth to it, I'm sorry that I said it. Like, I'm not trying to lower your self-esteem. I'm not trying to, destroy your confidence, because what if we're the ones that are always there for them to build their confidence up, to strengthen them, to empower them? We're not trying to hurt them. We're not trying to tell them, make them feel like they're worthless, and to take advantage of them, or to control them, or to know that, okay, these are their weaknesses. We're not trying to do those things. That sometimes we want to say the truth, and then we don't deliver the truth in the way that, come on, what are you doing? Oh my God, come on, Charlie, what are you doing? Oh my God. Okay, we'll continue this later.